The theme I want to bring out in this week's Torah portion is the theme of darkness and light. In this week's Torah portion, Parshat Bo, we read about the last 3 of the 10 plagues that God brings to afflict the Egyptians, to show the whole world, to show Egypt, to show the Jewish people how God exists in the world, a different form of existence than God had ever existed in the world before, with miracles, with signs and wonders, with overt miracles. And we have the last 3 of the plagues in this week's Torah portion. The plague of locusts that come down and descend upon the earth and bring darkness to the land. Then we have the plague of darkness, and finally the death of the firstborn of all the Egyptians, and all of everything firstborn except the Jewish firstborn are killed in the middle of the night, in the dark of the night. So there's a theme of darkness. So I want to talk about the 9th plague, the plague of darkness, and in it God tells Moses, he says, go to raise your hand up above the heavens and bring this light down, bring this darkness down. What's coming down from the heavens? It's, say some of our commentators, it's light, it's supreme, supernal, spiritual, hidden away light. It was the light that was created on day 2 of creation. It was not light that came from the sun. It was a spiritual light. It was the light that comes out in our Hanukkah menorah. It's the light that we learn mystically that a Jewish baby in utero is lit by. There's a light in the uterus that lights up such that the baby can learn all of the Torah, so that the baby can see from one end of the universe to the other. There's a light. That's this light that was hidden away to be used at special times. And there's an understanding that when Moses lifted up his hand up into the heavens, he brought down this light. And the light for the Jews who wanted a relationship with God, who wanted to understand the truth, who wanted to leave Egypt and wanted to leave idolatry, the light gave them light. They were able to see. They could go into the Egyptian homes and see where all their treasures were. They could continue carry on their lives. But the Egyptians who were blocked, who were idolaters, who didn't see God, didn't want to see God, that this light was so bright that it blinded them, that it created a physical blindness. The light was so bright. You know, when you go into some place that's dark and you come out and the sunshine is so bright, it's blinding to you. That there's one understanding that this is the light. This light was so blinding to the Egyptians that they perceived it as darkness. In the Torah, we read there were 2 levels of darkness. The first 3 days was an incapacity of the Egyptians to see, and the second 3 days was an incapacity of the Egyptians to move. It was a physical, palpable darkness that descended in such a way that they couldn't move. They were immobilized by the darkness. And if we think of the darkness as being distance from God, or we think about darkness as being something that blocks us from the truth and blocks us from clarity, then we're immobilized. Then we're all self-centered. It's very egotistical. It's all about me, and we can't see anything else. We can't see each other. We can't see beyond ourselves. So that's another way to understand that the way in which the Egyptians experienced this darkness, that they were so enclosed inside of themselves that they couldn't see out. So the plague of darkness teaches us how immobilizing darkness can be. And at the same time, we understand that first teaching, that it was actually light that was coming down, that we can also experience light, that there's a juxtaposition of darkness with light. The first mitzvah, the first commandment that the Jews are given is in this week's Torah portion, and it's given before even the death of the firstborn. It's given to the Jews while they're still in Egypt. It's the commandment to sanctify the moon, to look up at a new moon, to declare the moon in its new state. Yesterday, Monday, was the new moon of Shvat. And if you look up in the sky, you see a moon, you see the little slither, you just see a little line around this edge of the moon, this beautiful little white line around the moon. That's the new moon. And that's what the Jews were given agency over. After they had come out of Egypt, while they were still in Egypt, on the cusp of leaving, God says, you get to sanctify time. You get to declare when the moon is new, when it's just beginning, when that little bit of light on the edge. You get to look at it. You get to declare it. You Jewish people get to have a partnership with God to declare holiness. We declare the new moon. The new moon is fixed because we declare it. And then our Jewish holy days can come from that. 15 days later, the Jews are going to experience coming out of Egypt. That is the day of Passover. But it was started with this first mitzvah, this first commandment for the Jews to be given agency and to be given the capacity to declare holy time. We are now partners with God in declaring time. And that was the beginning of the Jewish people. That was our first commandment with God. That's what was in the beginning. And we learned so much about the beginning, how the beginning is where we lay down the foundation of what's yet to come. As it says in our mystical teaching, it's all after the beginning. What's the beginning? What's the beginning of our day? We wake up and we say, thank you for my life. Thank you for bringing me back to life. Thank you for my breath. Thank you for giving me my soul back in the morning. We start the day with gratitude. What a beginning of a day that is. We start our Jewish year and Rosh Hashanah, and many of us between that time, between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we try very hard to be extra good. We try to use our language well. We try to eat the right foods, kosher foods. We try to be really the best we can be, because we're laying down the foundation for the rest of the year. That's what we do in the beginning. When a baby's born, or even in utero, how much is laid down in that baby, and how much we then look back on our childhoods and say, you know, did I have a good childhood? Did I have a good foundation to who I'm going to be as an adult? Am I psychologically healthy because I had a good childhood? This is stuff I have to work on. It's harder later, much easier to the idea is that what happens in the beginning is the foundation of what's going to come. So when we wake up in the morning and we're grateful, then that's the foundation for our day. When we raise our children to feel love and to feel good about themselves, that's a good foundation for them later on in life. When we start our year trying to be the best we can be, that's a good foundation for the year. So this month of Nisan, that was the first commandment, was the beginning of counting the months. And that's the Jewish calendar goes by months. Yes, we have the sun cycle that gives us the Shabbat, the Sabbath, every week. But the moon is the cycle by which we declare the holy days that we get to partner with God to declare. So the moon, as we know, and the new moon is just a little slither, and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It gets to this fullness, and then it goes down the other side, and it goes down back to almost imperceptible. Then it starts again. There's a waxing and waning of the moon. There's something about that cycle that's a lesson for us, that we as a Jewish nation cycle. Sometimes we're full and we're good and we're strong and we're healthy, and sometimes we're small and we're downtrodden and we're dark and we're in a dark place. So there's this cycling of the waxing and waning of the sun that is likened unto the waxing and waning of the Jewish people as a nation. Also, the waxing and waning of us as individuals as we go through life. There are times where we're on top of our game. There are times where we're shining. There are times where it's bright. There are times where it's full. And then there's times where it's diminished and it's a little harder. And we have to work harder to find the hope. But yet we know that it's cyclical. There's a cycle. Shabbat's going to come every 7 days. We've set up the cycle that every 7 days there's a Shabbat. That's God-given. But the moon is man-given, and the moon is waxing and waning like the nation of Israel, like the people of Israel, or all people wax and wane. And when we understand that, we can understand what Rosh Chodesh also stands for, which is an idea of renewal, that we can renew ourselves. There's hope. We're not stuck in one place. Yes, it might look like it's dark and it's never going to get light again. But if you look at the moon and you see how it waxes and wanes, we understand that where we are, if it's dark and it feels dark and it feels there's no hope, there's hope, because we're like the moon. It's going to wax, it's going to wane, it's going to go up, it's going to go down, it's going to be full, it's going to be minimized. And that's our experience. And it's the experience of the world. The world will, at some point, we're taught, and we have hope and we have faith that at the end of days it'll be light, meaning a light of clarity, a light of truth, a light of connection to the oneness of the infinite God, that will be known throughout the world, and that will be a time of light. And so we understand that we cycle. We're not at that place yet. Please God, we will be, but we're not there now. We're in a cyclical state of being. In Ecclesiastes, it says, there's nothing new under the sun. It's true there's nothing new under the sun, but there's something new above the moon. The moon is our beacon of renewal, of something that can change, of change and renewal. And Rosh Chodesh is an acknowledgement that we can renew ourselves, we can change ourselves, we can be different, and that is written into the foundation of the world. So when we talk about beginnings and we talk about what it was that the Jewish people were becoming, we were going from the darkness of Egypt. We were going from the last 3 plagues that happened in dark times. The locust came and it darkened the land. Moses reaches up into the heavens and brings darkness. There's darkness to the Egyptians, there's light to the Jews who get out. Those Jews who get out see light. And there's darkness in the middle of the night when the death of the firstborn. And the Jews leave, and we understand we start our days at night. For Erev Vayvoker happens at night, goes into day. Our days start in the evening. Friday night is the beginning of the Sabbath. We start at night because it's the darkness, and then we move into the light. That's the experience of the world. That's the experience of the Jewish people. That's the experience of us as people. And the moon is our first mitzvah. It's the first thing that is laid down in the foundation of the Jewish people as free people, the capacity to sanctify time and to be in partnership with God. And that's what's laid down with us in relationship to God, in relationship to the vine, that we are a people that can sanctify time. And what did the Greeks want to eliminate during the time of Hanukkah? They wanted to get rid of Rosh Chodesh, because Rosh Chodesh is us in partnership with God, sanctifying time and bringing ourselves above the sun, up into a transcendent realm. So my blessing for us as we begin this new month of Shvat, which just started yesterday, is to recognize that fluctuation of who we are as a people, who we are as individuals, who we are as a world heading towards the light. And that, yes, we might go through periods where it's diminished, where it feels like there's no hope, but like the moon, it will become full again, it will be bright, and that light will come out. And my blessing for us is that we continue to have hope, continue to bring the light, and make it more and more and more shining into the world.